welcome to another episode. My name's Stephanie Hoff, and I am a pediatric dietitian, as well as the U.S. Healthcare Manager for Kendamil Infant Brands. We have a really fun topic that we're going to be discussing today, but before I dive in, I wanted to introduce our speaker. We today are joined by Amarel who is Kendamil's product manager, but she has a wealth of knowledge in biochemistry as well as molecular biology. So what we're talking about today is goat milk infant formula. I feel like it's become such a popular discussion for not only parents, but pediatricians as well. So we're going to spend some time discussing, what is goat milk infant formula and where does it fit in the current, categories of infant formula that are available today? The first question that I would love to just learn a little bit more about is, what is goat milk infant formula? Can you elaborate on what is actually in a can?
Yes. So goat formula, it's similar to any other regular formula, except that goat milk, so milk from the goat, is used as the base ingredient instead of cow's milk. So most formulas on the market use skimmed cow's milk, or Kendamil uses whole milk from cows as the base ingredient, whereas goat formula will just use goat's milk. And it's designed the same way that any other infant formula is made. So the calories, the fat, the carbs, the protein, basically the entire macronutrient profile is modified to follow regulatory standards set for infant formula. Like it has to match, or it has to be more similar to breast milk in that sense, and it has to be suitable for a growing infant. So those macros are comparable to any other formula on market. Just because it uses goat milk does not mean there's different protein amounts or different carb amounts. Like that stuff needs to be formulated and designed specifically to meet regulatory standards. The same thing for the vitamins and minerals. So for example, like naturally cows and goat's milk have different vitamin and mineral levels. Like cow's milk might be higher in some vitamins and goat milk might be higher in some other minerals or something, but that doesn't, like neither of those milks alone, just a baby drinking cow's milk, which a baby should not be drinking alone, that they don't have sufficient vitamins and minerals for a growing infant. So that's why you have formula.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So really it's just for goat infant formula, it's coming from a goat, and for cow's milk infant formula, it's coming from a cow. But in terms of being nutritionally complete, they both have to be, fortified and to meet specific nutrient needs that have been outlined by the FDA.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay. So, kind of going along that. So, why do you feel that there's been more demand for a goat infant formula?
I think there's a few reasons, some of which I think we'll hopefully touch upon, especially relating to the proteins. But it's said to be a little bit more similar to breast milk, specifically how the proteins are metabolized. So a lot of parents are sort of hearing that about it and they're opting for it. Some of them are going straight to goat milk right away, not even like trying anything else. Goat formula. Some of them are going to goat formula right away, not trialing, anything else. They just want to go straight to what they feel is closest to breast milk, and goat formula comes up often in terms of that. Also, I think for a lot of parents, it's becoming sort of an alternative to sensitive or comfort type of formulas. Because some parents just don't feel comfortable, I think, with some of the ingredients in those formulas, or they just want something else that they just feel might be better suited versus, a sensitive, or sometimes even in hyperallergenic if it's not a baby that has real CMPA, because a lot of parents use hyperallergenic formula even though the baby doesn't have a cow milk protein allergy. So I think a lot of parents are just getting that recommendation, and it's working really well for their baby to just try a goat formula if their baby's having issues tolerating like a regular cow's milk formula.
Okay, yeah, that makes so much sense. So yeah, parents, I'm sure, are learning more, hearing about, additional options, and that's where this boom of goat infant formula is coming from. So kind of going along, just infant formulas in general, I feel like protein is a big topic of conversation. So is the protein in goat's milk the same as what is in cow's milk, especially when it comes to what's in the infant formula?
Yeah. So the protein content is the same. So the amount, so in goat formula and in just regular cow's milk formula, the actual protein amount is the same. So I just want to distinguish that, because going back to what I said earlier, there's a lot of confusion as to whether like it has more protein or it has less, just because goat milk alone, not a formula, I think it has a different amount of protein than cow's milk alone. So just to distinguish there, the content is the same, but not the types of protein. So no. So all mammalian milk contains forms of casein proteins, and there's two types that you hear about the most: alpha-1 beta casein and alpha-2 beta casein. And you may have noticed in your grocery stores that there's some milk labeled as A2 milk. That's your alpha-2 casein proteins, and that's becoming more popular to see. A lot of that comes from regular cows. It's not necessarily goat milk, but goat milk primarily contains alpha-2 beta casein protein. There are some cows that produce, like Holstein cows, which will produce alpha. The Holstein cows produce alpha-1, whereas the Jersey cow, a lot of Jersey cows will produce mostly alpha-2 proteins. But I think you really have to pay attention to what cow the milk is coming from. But for goat milk, like for all goat milk, it's predominantly made up of A2. But when it comes to goat milk, the alpha-2 beta casein is the predominant protein naturally. So there's little to no alpha-1, and it's mostly alpha-2. And then when it comes to the differences between these two, because the names sound pretty similar, right? There's just one really small structural difference between A1 and A2 proteins, but that small difference can cause some changes in digestion. So like when those proteins do get digested, something happens that's different between the two in terms of how the body reacts to the digestion process. And there's even been studies that have shown that for some people, when they're metabolizing the A1, you could have some extra mucus production or even inflammation, and therefore some GI upset. So that's even like just been shown clinically when comparing the digestion of A1 based milks and A2 based milks.
Something that's definitely top of mind for parents, but also pediatricians is, if their baby is having any digestive intolerances, on a cow's milk infant formula, would goat milk be an appropriate next choice?
So we think so, yes. I think it sort of avoids jumping to the like hyperallergenic or gentle formula. And a lot of times those actually cost more and have their own drawbacks. Like you have to sort of weigh a lot of times like your advantages to your disadvantages, as to why, what's happening with your baby, why would you want to switch formulas? But in general, when most parents switch over to a goat milk formula, from what we've seen, they'll report a positive change in their baby. So I definitely think it's something worth trying. And a lot of people are starting to opt for that before trying your comforts or your hyperallergenic brand.
Okay. That's great. I mean, it's definitely nice to know that where this formula could potentially fit, and kind of give parents and doctors, a pathway that they could follow if they're interested in that. So, I know that in cow's milk infant formula, prebiotics is something that is commonly added. So does goat milk infant formula have prebiotics?
So Kendamil Go formula has added GOS, galacto-oligosaccharides, but goat milk itself naturally is higher in some oligosaccharides, more so than cow's milk. So you kind of get like that dual benefit of the added GOS that we add, and then also just that which is found naturally in goat's milk too.
Okay, cool. So there are prebiotics.
With probiotic.
What?
I said not to be confused with probiotic.
Right.
Probiotic. Yes, because
Right.
that's something people do get confused with. And sometimes it could be just your autocorrect, but people get confused between probiotic and prebiotic. So
yes, no, that's definitely a good point to mention. So we are talking about prebiotics.
Yes.
And then I feel, that we've talked about this, but I think it never hurts to go over this topic, but is goat milk infant formula nutritionally complete?
Yes. So all formulas have to follow FDA, whatever country they're being made in, Europe, United States. They have to follow the standards for macro and micronutrients. They all have to, there's ranges that they have to meet. You can't have more than this. You can't have less than this. And yes, so goat milk formula has to follow the same thing that any other formula has to follow. And so it is nutritionally complete because of that.
Okay, that's really good to know. Because I think, with anything that's new, there's definitely some misconceptions about that. So I really appreciate you clarifying.
And I think
yeah,
I was going to say there's a lot there. I think it's like back in the day, I don't know how long ago, wherever it was, a lot of people would just feed babies plain goat's milk. And I think a lot of sort of the myths have come through that, where it's like, don't feed goat milk, because when people hear the word goat milk, they don't realize like the parent might be talking about formula, not just goat milk from your,
Right.
So I think it's really important to note that this is a formula. It's not just your goat milk that you would purchase from a grocery store or get from a local farmer. It's not like that. It's literally a formula that's designed the same way that your standard formula is made.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point, Amarel. And then, I think as we've talked about, where just based on the structure of the proteins in goat milk and the digestion, and how it could, potentially be a great option for babies that are experiencing those really common digestive issues like fussiness, excessive crying, spit up, constipation. I feel like another big question though is, okay, well, what about if a baby has cow's milk protein allergies? Can goat milk infant formula be an appropriate substitute option for them?
So yeah, this is a common question because, a lot of people kind of confuse, I think, what a cow milk protein allergy is, especially with a lot of parents. But if it's a true cow milk protein allergy, so true CMPA, so it really is an allergy, the proteins in goat's milk and cow's milk are too similar to each other. So the goat milk formula would probably cause an allergic reaction. So it would not be a suitable option for CMPA babies. But a lot of times the GI issues that are often caused by different factors, like other factors that are not related to a real allergy, I think that goat formula could possibly help with alleviating, depending on the baby.
Okay.
I think a lot of babies sort of get lumped into the CMPI category, so the intolerance or like the sensitive category, rather than like a true CMPA, a true cow milk protein allergy. And I think based on the feedback that we've seen in a lot of the communities, there's a lot of parents who have babies that are in that category, and they're starting to gravitate towards goat formula, as opposed to your typical, again, like I said earlier, your comfort or your gentle labeled formula. And people are even just using it from the beginning, just because of its similarities in proteins to breast milk too. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's really helpful. And I think too, probably, if a parent is unsure if their baby has, just experiencing some intolerance issues versus an actual allergy, it's probably always best to talk to your pediatrician about next steps and what they would recommend to ensure that your baby is still getting appropriate nutrition and growing and thriving and all of that, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, I think those are like our big questions. So I really appreciate you spending some time going over those with us. For those who are watching and listening in, you can always go to our website, www.kendamil.com, and learn more about our goat milk infant formula and supportive resources on goat milk. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.